I recently posted a bass cover of the Beatles song Lovely Rita. In the description, I said that this is my favorite bass line of all time. People on YouTube and some people on Instagram were asking me, why is this my favorite bass line of all time? So let's talk about it. For bass players, it's how to connect chords 101. It's like an encyclopedia of bass patterns. I also think of this bass line as being like an etude, which is a study piece or a teaching piece, usually in classical music, which focuses on one or two musical ideas. For instance, it might focus on a particular rhythm, or playing in a triple meter like 3/4, or playing patterns using a specific scale. If this bass line were in fact an etude, it would be focusing on mixing scale and arpeggio patterns as a way of moving smoothly from one chord to the next. Like an etude, the Lovely Rita bass line can stand on its own. You can play this bass line out of the context of the song, and a couple of things happen. One, we can still understand the harmony or chord progression because McCartney is outlining the chords so clearly. And two, it sounds like a composition, not unlike a movement from one of Bach's cello suites. The cello suites were multi-movement works for solo cello. They occasionally contain chords or double stops, but very often they're just outlining the harmony through the use of arpeggios and scale patterns. In Lovely Rita, McCartney uses 15 unique 2-beat patterns, many of which he plays multiple times in the song on more than one chord. For bass players, we can take these patterns and use them to create our own melodic bass lines. As a way of demonstrating how we can use these, I've taken all 15 patterns and transposed them to the key of C, or really to a C major chord. Now we can think of them simply as patterns outside of the context of the song. The first 5 patterns are ones I think of as being static. They don't really go anywhere. The first one is just root, 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 root. As bass players, we've probably played root, 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 root 1,000 times. 1,000,000 times? 1,000,000,000 times. The second one is root, 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 5th, or root, 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 5th. The third one is root, root, 3rd, root, and then root, root, 2nd, root, and then root, 5th, root, 5th, or root, 5th, root, 5th. I think of these as being static because they don't really take us anywhere in particular. If we're playing a C major chord for 4 straight bars, we can kind of play any of these patterns in a mix and match way. We can hang on that C chord for quite a while. So I'll play these 5 patterns in order, and then I'll start mixing and matching them. If we're just hanging out on the same chord for a long time, we can play these patterns all day. Patterns 6, 7, and 8 are scale patterns, either moving up or down the scale, essentially by step. Pattern 6 is root, root, 7, 6. Feels like we're leading somewhere now. This would be a good pattern if the root of the chord is a 4th below the root of the chord you're currently on. If that's where you're trying to get, this is a great pattern. right? Pattern 6 basically takes us from C down to G. Pattern 7 is root 7, 6, 5. That's a good one for moving to a root a fifth below the current root. For instance, moving from C down to F, we go root 7, 6, 5, and that leads us right to that F. Pattern number 8 is an ascending scale, root 2, 3, but then goes back to the root. So it starts with an ascending scale, but then kind of arpeggiates back to the root of the chord. The next 3 patterns are arpeggio patterns. Pattern 9 is root, root, 3, 5. Pattern 10 is root, 3, root, 5. Pattern 11 is root, 3, 5, 3. And the last 4 patterns are kind of a mix of scale and arpeggio patterns. Number 12 is root, root, 3, 4. Probably good for getting us there. If we're trying to get to a note a fifth above our current root, pattern 12 is a good choice. Pattern 13 is similar. Root, 3, 4, sharp 4, and it's probably going to take us there. So if we want to get from a C chord to a G chord, patterns 12 or 13 are great. Pattern 14 is root, 3, 5, flat 5, which is probably going to lead us here. If we're on a C chord and we want to go to an F chord, or whatever chord we're on, if we want to go up a perfect fourth, this is a reasonable pattern, right? We start with just a major arpeggio, and then we have this little chromatic motion at the end that leads us here, though this pattern could also just lead us to this G. It creates a sort of chromatic lower neighbor tone. Our final pattern is sort of a pentatonic pattern, root 6, 5, 3, or root 6, 5, 3. Some of these patterns have particular places they're trying to take us. Some of them lend themselves to static harmony, or a chord that isn't going anywhere, at least for a while. And then some of them are a little bit more universal. We can almost go anywhere from them. Number 8 is a great one because it sounds good no matter where we're going. If we're on a C chord and we want to go to D, we can use number 8 to get us there. That works. If we want to go to E, that works pretty well too. If we want to go to F, works great. G, we can do it. A sounds great. B works too, maybe in a specific context. B flat works. E flat works. Number 8 will take us almost anywhere. Some of the arpeggio patterns can take us multiple places too. Let's look at number 11. We can go to a bunch of different places from there. That works. That works. That works. That works. That works in a certain context. This bass line is full of these patterns that we can take and use to create our own melodic bass lines. Almost all of these patterns showed up in other Beatles songs. Some of them show up on other songs on the Sgt. Pepper album. So those are some of the reasons this is my favorite bass line of all time. I feel like when I learn this bass line, when I practice this bass line, it makes me a better bass player. If you have a question, put it in the comments. I've got so much other Beatles and McCartney bass content on my YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, thanks.